Yeah.
Bingo. That's how I made a career, was that they understood what the hell I was saying.
Yeah.
Yo tengo las papeles del Estado por tú. No sé muy
Oh,
bien.
man, look out.
I'm a little intimidated now.
Now you say 52 in Espanol.
It's 52.
Very good.
Look at that.
Very good. See?
Got to think about that. I'm a little closer to the border than you guys are.
Yeah.
Well,
it comes natural.
The border's actually coming closer to us.
That's a good
you
point.
guys have been overrun. The border's all the way up here now.
Yeah, we're North Mexico now.
Yeah.
Hey, so I don't. Just real quick, we got a couple strangers on the show today. We should introduce our special guests, Fung and Shway.
Of the infamous podcast, Fung and Shway.
That's right.
Hello, America.
Yeah, hello,
America.
So we got Doug and Mike joining us today.
Maybe it's appropriate for you guys to talk a little bit about yourselves, your background, where you're located,
and what you're drinking.
All
right. You want to go first?
Sure. Well, first of all, we're partaking in one of our drinks of choice, Bamboo Rum. Bamboo Rum is actually responsible for the birth of the Fung Shway podcast. It got us through COVID. Probably in about a year and a half, we probably consumed close to 55 bottles of it.
Yeah.
Well done.
1 week.
Yeah.
So you don't remember COVID at all? You were just unconscious the whole time.
There's times it was a blur.
I was going to say your eyes look a little yellow.
Yeah. COVID wasn't that bad. I mean,
doesn't sound like it.
A little bit about Mike and I is that Mike lives close by.
Across the street.
Yeah. And during COVID, you had your own bubble that you had to hang around. We didn't. So we started hanging out. And our wives decided that we were not funny or thought that they didn't want to listen to us.
They were tired of hearing. Yeah.
And they said, you should find someone else to listen. So we bought the podcast equipment. It was in the Amazon cart. You click deliver.
Like we threw the idea around and literally we started listening to some podcasts and he comes over to the house one day and he shows me his phone. He's got everything in his Amazon cart. And he goes, we're doing it. And he hits buy. And next thing you know, we're doing a podcast.
It's a little bit like if you were to actually see a flamethrower on eBay and say, I think I'm going to buy it.
And just buy it.
Yeah,
impulsively.
It just shows up.
Yeah.
And then talk about it on your podcast.
Yeah.
It's almost like I find those things and then I mention the idea to Bryce and Bryce is like, do it. And then it doesn't take much convincing at all, but I need that little nudge.
Don't lie. He does that shit before he even asks me. He goes and buys it and then he comes to me for affirmation. He's like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, I do it.
And you mentioned flamethrower to Bryce. He's all over that.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Look, whenever I saw the podcast and saw that you bought one, I had one in a cart at the time. And I have, sometimes you have that conscience that's deep inside of you. Well, my conscience is a 5'6" Jewish wife. And it controls the finances. And so,
Douglas Allen, what do you need one of those for?
That's right. And by the way, Passover's this weekend, so shout out to all of our Israeli Jewish friends and my wife.
Here.
And so,
cheers to them.
Yeah.
Passover,
Shalom.
baby.
Yeah, so she says, you're not buying that. And so, I didn't get one. And so
I was sure you were going to say, so I bought one.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I tell you what I'm going to do, Doug. I'm going to pack mine up, and it's going to be delivered to your door. I'm going to let you borrow it for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, we have no control over that.
Yeah.
But we're located in coastal Delaware, right on the beach. We're like 2 miles inland from the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, but some of
Delaware.
Some of the audience might say, how close are we to the president's house?
20 minutes.
Yeah, it would take 20 minutes for us to get to his house. 20 minutes
to get to his house, yeah.
If he started
1600 Pennsylvania.
No, not the Corvette one.
Not the make-believe house in
Spain.
Got it. And not even the garage full of documents in Wilmington. That's about an hour and 20 minutes away. His house in Rehoboth, his beach house, that he has frequented, I believe,
50 something
times.
Yeah,
it's an egregious amount. Is right up the road, literally about 20 minutes up the road.
Nice.
So if he was to get on his bike and head here and not fall off, it'd probably take him about 45 minutes.
How about that?
So,
right. You know how we know he's here? Like if Like during the summertime, how the airplanes fly up and down the beach with the banners hanging behind them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, when he's in town, those guys are
There's
shut
no
down.
airplanes. Yeah, sure.
They're shut down. Yeah, they can't even. And they come out of Ocean City, which is just inside. We're right on the Maryland-Delaware border. So they come out of Ocean City and come up this way, and they're now, when he's in town for the weekend, they're shut down.
Well, that happens quite a bit, right? I hear he spends a lot of
It's
time
like that. It's at least every other.
Yep.
Every other weekend.
That's his
So
hospice house, isn't it?
What's that?
That's his hospice house?
Yeah.
Right?
We can't say that. I don't think so.
Yeah, it will be one day.
It will be.
Well, folks, let me tell you about this this incredible nut called Big Tex from Patriot Bolt. It's big. It's the largest hex nut in the world, and it's just incredible. You know, we didn't have nuts this big back in Scranton. Not joking.
Yeah.
So
Next
yeah,
week.
we're on the east coast, Delaware, and Mike worked he was a
I was a police for 34 years.
superhero.
Thank you for your service, sir. We appreciate you.
I love it. I would do it again. Thank you, but I would do it again in a minute. I just retired last Friday.
Yep.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
He's now full-time podcast host.
Bingo.
Here's to you,
That's what
sir.
he's doing to make a living. Dude, there's a lot of toasting in there.
It is. We're going to get hammered. Let's do it. Get it on.
That's the
Friday.
plan, Stan.
It's Friday.
There we go. So
What else you got to do?
I do construction work out of Baltimore, in Baltimore, Virginia Beach, all the way down all the way up the East Coast.
Well, here's to construction, Doug. Here's to construction.
Yeah, here's the
Just because nothing we get built without it.
yeah.
So Doug, you're not retired yet. So how much further is that? And is Mike rubbing that in your face yet?
Well, very much. But that's a very interesting thing, Chris, because in my office there's a whiteboard. I believe that, I don't know if my assistant will listen to this, there's a number on that whiteboard that goes down miraculously each day. And so there's a number that's going down to whenever Mike and I have plans to buy a little place in Belize and move the podcast to Belize.
Hell yeah.
And it's getting close. However, if you remember, I just mentioned that the Jewish young lady,
What is she?
her
Kiboshing that?
view on when I'm going to retire and my view on retirement they don't seem to mesh a little bit. And
No jiving.
So she is there's a little conflict in that.
I went through the same thing. It's over today.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, she can't
Do
she
it.
just stay another year? No, it's not happening.
Yeah.
You know, I have a feeling if I ship that flamethrower to you, it's probably going to add a couple of years to that, Doug.
Or
Yeah.
expedite every
Yeah, screw it. You're retiring.
all in.
Yeah,
So
just do it.
as we move into, I think, what this podcast was supposed to be about, to review a book, there's a very interesting thing about reading the book in the flamethrower. So I don't mean to basically hijack this, but to move toward the Elon Musk conversation.
Yes.
About the flamethrower. What's that?
Yeah. No, that's a perfect segue from the flamethrower over to Elon Musk.
So as we talked about last week, we're going to have you guys on, and we're going to talk about the book I think that we have all read. And I'm not much of a reader, so I listened to it.
I listened to this one too. It's a long book.
It was really, it was like 24 hours on the audiobook, but I will tell you, man, I was glued to it. It was very, very entertaining and interesting.
And I think we all read it independently. I think maybe Doug brought it to my attention, and at the same time, you were just coincidentally reading it. So I read it just based on you guys' recommendation, but I came back from it and I said, this is awesome. This is a great book. Everybody should read this.
Yeah.
Everybody that's involved in business, entrepreneurial endeavors, just management. I mean, there's so many takeaways from that thing. It was just is a cool book.
Without a doubt.
So
What you guys, what was like,
after the flamethrower will come up, but I started reading the book, and I think I was sick at that time. I was home a couple of days, and I called Mike and I said, "Hey, dude, you're not going to believe what I just bought." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, I just put the deposit on. You're not going to believe what I just bought. And he said, "What?" I said, "I just ordered a Cybertruck." And I said, "I'm reading the Elon Musk book, just ordered the Cybertruck." And
Hell yeah.
his view at that point was not.
I said, what the hell you need a bulletproof truck for?
So, what? It's not
Why
why
not?
you, it's why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And
Why?
so-
Yeah, exactly.
I understand now. I understand it better.
And so I then called my wife and said, "Hey, you're not going to believe what I just bought." And she said, "You what?" And there was some discussion about it. And then I went back to the office and I said, "Hey, you know what? I've replaced my company truck. I've ordered a Cybertruck." And there was some discussion about it. And then I sat down with my HR person. Evidently, I sat down with them a lot, who orders all of our equipment.
Daily, just a different topic.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was so close with her, whoever HR is. But we basically, because of the distance I drive, we found out it doesn't work for me. And so I backed out of it after it was ordered. I did get my money back. Tesla did back it up because I drive more. I drive more in a day.
You would have been You would have been sucking bolts
Yeah.
as you pulled in the
Yes.
driveway. You said.
So,
Yes.
so yeah, I again couldn't
Volts.
order the
Volts. I
flamethrower.
thought he said bolts.
Volts.
Bolts with a
Bolts.
V.
Yeah, that's an old Chevrolet
Yes.
car.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Or
So yeah, the book. Back to the thing about the book, there was a very interesting thing early on in the book that I got about Elon that really shocked me. The first business that he ever created was a video game that I believe he was. I could be wrong about this. I think he was 10 years old. He created his
you're
first
right.
video game and sold it at 10 years old for $500. And
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, that's got to be. I mean, there's a bunch of things that sort of came out to me, but that was like a start. Like, this guy's really a genius. At 10 years old, creating your own video game and doing that. I think that was very interesting. And also, after that, throughout the whole book, it is a long book, more to discuss than we could probably spend time on, but the relationship he has with his father, the relationship he has with his kids, I mean, that was a big deal that he's got everything. But there's little things about his character that I wonder, how's that guy really happy? He's got all the money in the world, but he has just a drive, his focus in life. That was my thing about Elon Musk. He's unique. That's it.
And, he wasn't about the money. I mean, that was one of the things I took away from it too. Is
Yep.
he wasn't interested in the money. That wasn't a purpose. He was interested in change and innovation and betterment of mankind, as opposed to going out and making a couple bucks. I mean, he's a man of character and a man of innovation, I think. And he was. I mean, obviously, he has some mental issues and disorders, and he does some crazy things. But from a business standpoint, man, it's unbelievable. Just, because if you go and tell, hey, this is how you cook or this is how you bake a cake, you're just going to follow the instructions and you're going to bake a cake. If you were to take that to Elon Musk, he's going to say, no fucking way. I can do this in 2 minutes instead of 30 minutes. I mean, he's just like, I can do this better. Figure this out. We're going to do it this way. I mean, it's just, that's the thing that blows my mind about the guy. He's just, you can't tell him something and he's going to go with it. He's going to say, no, we can do it better.
Yeah,
So
and that
what was
seems to drive every one of his endeavors. I mean, from the beginning, because shortly after that whole video game, I guess his first big venture and his first business that he really sold, where he started all of his wealth, was PayPal, right?
Yeah.
That was the thing that really, where it really put him into the wealth, where he could really build on all the other things that he's done over his career. But that one is pretty amazing to look at a problem. And it seems like every one that he starts, it's trying to solve a problem. It's not to make money. PayPal, you needed a banking system that could work electronically and transfer funds. He saw a need for that early on, even before that wasn't even a thing. It seems like a common standard thing for us, all the things that spun off of that, like Venmo and all the other things. But PayPal was really the original one. But even when you go on to Tesla, he's looking for something that is bettering mankind. He's looking at, humankind existing on Mars, with a Neuralink thing to augment human movement. I mean, everything is about making something better. It's not really about the money at all.
I think that's what makes him unique. I think that if I was to ask you guys, as far as all the endeavors, because I think there's a lot of things that people don't recognize that he's, like the Boring Company. I knew nothing about the Boring Company
Nothing.
before the book. And
Yeah.
the whole idea about drilling tunnels and saying, hey, how much does it cost for this? How come cities aren't built three-dimensional? Or how cities are built three-dimensional, roads are built two-dimensional. How come we can't dig tunnels? The boring company, I would have never known that he was doing something like that.
No idea.
But I'm curious about, out of all the things that he's been a part of, because there's been a lot, but out of all the things, which is the one that really stuck out at you? Because it could have been like PayPal, like you said, Chris, but there's one that really stuck out to me, that how he handled it and everything. I've actually tried to convince people to get involved with it, but I'm curious what business stuck out to you guys.
I think for me it's Tesla, and I will say that just because at the beginning, all the big car makers tried to do EVs, and they all just completely shit the bed. And none of them were successful. They were all upside down. They weren't making any money off of it. And even at the beginning of Tesla, they weren't doing well. And obviously COVID hit and it kind of screwed up the pooch a little bit for him. But he has turned that into the biggest car company in the world. I mean, it's crazy. If you would have said that 15 years ago and said, listen, a guy's going to start this company. He's going to base it on electric vehicles, and it's going to be bigger than GM and Ford combined. You're going to say, there's no way.
And it's going to be faster 0 to 60 than anything else out on the road.
Right. You're going to say there's no chance. That'll never happen. Good luck. And here he is, man. I mean, he has completely blown up the car industry, which has been a powerhouse in the United States, especially forever, right? I mean, for 100 plus years.
Right.
Yeah. So I just take that and it's like, man, he has just completely changed.
The one that sticks with me, and I just think about, us growing up in the 80s and going through, seeing the traditional shuttle and the whole NASA, see the rooms of the 100 people in white t-shirts and black ties in front of 1,000 monitors. It's always been a government subsidized, government run entity. It's been a branch of the U.S. government, basically anything to do with space exploration. But whether Elon was the pioneer of this, I guess, is debatable. But he is really the one that looked at it and said, hey, we can do this better. We can do it more efficiently. This belongs in the private sector because there's so much bureaucracy and so much cost and waste and all that sort of thing associated with any government monster like that. It's the perfect example of something that goes from a public domain into a private sector. Yeah. And you look at what's being done now with, whereas rockets used to be dumped into the sea after they were used and you'd spend billions of dollars getting more of them back on. This is one where you take a rocket and it flips itself upside down and lands itself back on a pad after it's done. I mean, I don't know that ever would have been accomplished in the government, and whether a change or a dynamic change like that would have ever taken place. So, that's just one simple example, but I'm sure there's hundreds of examples like that where the privatization and just the drive of the vision of one person can make that into something like it is right now.
Here. Sorry, I'm going to take a quick emergency phone call.
Go ahead,
very quickly. I'll be right back, gentlemen. Business calls.
They're priority. It's an interesting thing that, because I'll come back to the company that I think was very big with him. But Mike and I have a friend that works at Wallops Island that we've interviewed that is a rocket scientist. Now, Frank he's worked for Northrop Grumman. I forget who he works for now. But there's so many weird things, and you guys probably have a lot to do with this whenever, like, the embargoes went on in China and how that affects you with materials and everything. Whenever the Ukrainian war started with Russia, the Northrop Grumman was actually buying their rocket engines. They were getting some from Russia, some from Ukraine. And so whenever the war started, all of a sudden they couldn't get their rocket engines. And so the person that's actually building the engines for them right now is Elon Musk. And so not only is he doing his own thing, but he's also supplying other companies for what's going on there because of the goal of being a multi-planet, I forget whatever he calls us, people or species, a multi-planet species.
Multi-inhabitants,
Yeah. And so I think that's very interesting how he does that. But I know that Fran went to Florida to go down to work with him about using one of their launch spaces. And he was blown away about everything down to the detail of SpaceX and how they what they do about recycling, how they the food that was there, they don't pay for food while you're there working. They basically supply. They have chefs there. He said down to the detail about making sure that everyone is productive is a big deal with SpaceX.
Yeah.
But you probably see this a lot more than we see it up here. I don't know why. Maybe it's just growing. But the thing that really got me was the whole story of his solar-powered roof. The everything about the shingles, that they had to look good, they had to work. He brought the people out there, the engineers. I was telling Mike, we were talking about how he got the engineers on the roof and said, "You go up there and put these on. You need to find out how they put on." And they were working at
and made them get out of the office and made them spend 12 hours a day on a South Texas rooftop.
Yeah, that's really hell on earth.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
torture.
That's as close to Mexico as you can get right there. I think you can better see that rocket and those roofs from the Mexican side.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, definitely hot on it. But that was another one for me. But you could go through all of them in the book. From the Neuralink, the stuff that he's doing with Neuralink, it's scary.
I think that's huge. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah. Well, it's scary, but I think there's such a big thing. The guy that just had it put in his brain, didn't he just play chess or something he was completely paralyzed.
Right.
And he was playing chess with the Neuralink and just with his mind. And so the future and the capabilities of who thinks of this stuff outside of somebody like Elon Musk? Right.
Sorry, fellas. That's my bad.
That's all right.
You're good.
That was probably a pushing order.
It was actually, I don't know if you guys watched last week's episode. We went to Phoenix a couple weeks ago and we got a big hose order. And that was it. It's supposed to ship today. So I'm trying to coordinate all the logistics of it right now. And
I got the best place to get hoses.
Make sure you ship those hose.
Yeah.
Hoses it is going to be amazing.
I thought Vegas would be bigger for hose.
You're right, but Phoenix has a lot of hose demand, and we are going to be passing these hose through different area codes. It's going to be traveling quite a bit. So,
guys, this is all day for me. This is what my day consists of right here.
Hold on, because I'm gonna throw two things out for you. Okay, watch this. The Fung Shway shout out here.
Uh-oh.
That's Alex that's doing all the hoses.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Alex?
That's exactly right. That was Alex Hoover.
He's the hose guy.
Okay.
What's funny? This is funny that it actually, I don't know why this hasn't resonated with me up until this point.
Did you say resignated?
Shut your mouth. Alex's last name is Hoover.
Yes.
Really?
What do Hoovers do?
Oh, Hoovers suck.
They suck.
What are we doing?
What do hoes do?
Blow. They could blow.
What do hoes do?
They could blow or suck, yeah.
Transfer fluid. That's what I learned on the podcast.
They transfer fluid.
Well, transfer is a technical way to say it, but I mean...
But a valve is sucking that fluid through that hose.
Yeah.
So Alex has a very fitting name.
Like I said, Doug, this is my entire day right here. I'm going
to change my name to Bryce Titan.
And he's only one of the 12-year-olds we have in this office.
I'm the most mature.
There's more.
That makes the day go by, bro.
That's so funny.
It does.
Yeah.
And I'm looking out our window at the world's largest nut, so, I mean, you can only imagine.
Why don't you have two of them?
Just wait.
Awesome.
Just you wait.
Awesome.
It probably because we would go out of business if we built another one. Shit's expensive, man.
Yeah.
It ain't cheap.
This would be the shirt I would have with your bolts and hose logo. I would say with two studs like this, we only needed one nut.
Yes. Oh, baby. I like that.
That's not bad.
I like that,
Three
Doug.
studs, one nut.
Yeah.
One nut.
Studs, one nut.
All we need is a little encouragement. That's all we need, and we will take it from here.
Yeah. So for all the listeners who's watching this and everything else, we'll share this on our Fung Shway podcast. So Chris and I are somewhat related. So that's the reason how we basically so I was curious about.
Isn't it true though that Chris listened to our episode or
I think that's where he came
and then he said, "If those two idiots can do it, we can do it too."
That's the exact conversation. He came in to the conference room one day and said, "We need to do a podcast because these dipshits, they can do it, so we can do it." I'm just kidding.
But they're doing audio. We're going to do video.
Yeah.
That's what convinced us to do the video stuff.
Right, because we thought if those two knuckleheads can do video, we
These two ugly cats.
I can't take credit for any of this. I think their idea did not originate with me. I think it was Paul that
Paul
originally came up and said, "Hey, you guys should do a podcast called Bolts and Hose." And Bryce is the one that I was surprised said, "Yeah, let's do this. We need to
I
do
think
this."
it's a great idea for guys that have a company like yours. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So to let you know, Paul is our version of Alan.
Oh, okay. He's an asset.
Yeah, he is an asset, but Paul went on a journey at some point about, 20 episodes ago. Never been back. So,
I don't even know where Paul is.
Was he consumed by cannibals in New Guinea?
He's out on assignment.
Oh, okay.
That was.
Yeah,
didn't he do
he's
an
doing some
episode
reconnaissance.
like the Blair Witch Project that he was pretty much running through the woods?
He was. That was like 5 a.m. in the morning. He was taking his daughter for I think a walk or something. Or no, he was on a walk. That's what it was before he took his daughter to school. And that was a kid's playground. He was like in a kiddie slide. I was like, I'm so glad that no like parent or a concerned dad walked through there or a cop. And Paul's waiting in a dark slide somewhere or a tunnel.
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, I'm out here looking for bolts and nuts."
All right. So
it was funny. It was funny though at the time.
It is.
So in reeling back to Elon Musk, two guys that are basically on this business. How old is Bolts and Hose? I know that y'all bring it up every once in a while. When did y'all start? 5 years. Isn't that 5 years coming up?
2018. So this is we're about a month away from our 6th year anniversary.
Wow.
How about
it? Hey.
Patriot Bolt.
Yeah, Patriot
not
Bolt.
Patriot Bolt. Yeah.
Cheers. We just bought our second building. We're adding CNCs. I think we're probably one of the biggest, I'd say, specialty bolt shops.
Yeah, I mean we got 40
in America.
I think we got 40 employees now.
Entrepreneurship.
Donald Trump just did a video talking about Patriot Bolt.
No way.
Yeah. You haven't seen that. Go to LinkedIn, go to our LinkedIn page. He gave us a big badass endorsement talking about how we got some really, really strong bolts.
Really strong.
Strong nuts.
Really. Yeah, all the above.
He said they have strong bolts. They have really strong bolts. Really strong bolts.
As the largest hex nut in the world, Big Tex from Patriot Bolt is truly incredible, folks. It's big, it's bold, and it's American made. Nobody does nuts like we do. Nobody. When I say this thing is huge, you got to believe me. This thing is huge. Come check it out at Patriot Bolt in Humble, Texas.
Yeah, I mean, he's all about.
And he gets the joke, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Chris's aunt, whenever I was speaking with her today, she said, that Chris got Donald Trump on his podcast, so who are you going to get on your podcast? So Chris's aunt is trying to throw out the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
You would be shocked at the number of people that thought that was real, that actually thought I got Donald Trump to do a shout out for Patriot Bolt.
He's somewhat tied up right now, but there was a guy that lived his. Never mind.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
But the world is a shit show, bro.
It is. So two guys that own.
It is a mess. I agree, Mike.
Two guys that own. That's the reason we're moving to Belize. We found an island to buy.
So listen, man. Here's the deal. I even envisioned as we discussed this just jump of Doug and I sitting in a open air cantina somewhere, wearing the same shorts and t-shirts we probably had on the day before, straw hats, in a bar that has got like a dark top like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's painted white, lots of blue highlights, thatched roof, ceiling fans, and Doug and I sitting there sipping on cold, probably just a cold Corona or some shit like that. And then the other morning, because I've been waking up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning for the last 20 years, I still can't sleep much past 5. So I wake up and I'm watching Caribbean Life on the friggin' TV. And there they are in Belize, and this young couple is looking to buy a house in Belize, and they're sitting in the exact bar that I have envisioned.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I said, it exists. It's kind of like a pilgrimage now.
Yep, it's a goal.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Belize?
No.
But we talked to somebody that actually, we were had some friends over, and we told them about moving to Belize, and the guy said, "Look, 18 years ago, I bought some property in Belize. My wife doesn't want to go back, and I want to sell it. You guys interested in buying it?"
Yes.
So we just have to go. But to somewhat stay on track, this is normally what I have to do anyway. To stay on track, what is the one lesson that basically you learned from Elon Musk that you guys are using? Because I'll tell you mine that I use at work. At Patriot Bolts, what's that one thing that you guys are using at Patriot Bolts?
I think just I look at it and think of the guy that thinks outside of the box. I think every single problem that he approached or any kind of business concept, anytime he approached one of the businesses, he always just questioned everything about it, no matter how obvious it might be or whatever the historical norm was. He would always just blow it up. And sometimes he was wrong, right? I mean, sometimes, like, for example, when he went in and they did the Twitter thing, right? And, he didn't like the fact that all the servers and things were in San Francisco, and just at a whim,
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Yeah,
all of the people there said, no, we're not doing it. This is a stupid idea. And he got a bunch of buddies in a car and a truck and some family members and stuff. And they went over there and just started unhooking the racks themselves. And I think they relocated it to a place in Oregon. Yeah. And I'm sure the cost savings were huge, and that's what he was thinking in his mind. And just the fact that somebody said, no, it couldn't be done. He did it. So, and he ended up talking about that later, saying that was a stupid idea. We shouldn't have done that, because I think Twitter had experienced interruptions and disruptions for several months afterwards. So he said in retrospect that was a dumb idea. But that's a minority thing. I think for the most part, he looks at a problem and says, no. For the rocket ship, for example, you look at one that was made in the Ukraine. He said, hey, look, I can make one half the weight and it has twice the thrust, and is 10 times more efficient in fuel. And he did it. I mean, and he just gets a charge and gets out there and does the leadership thing, and people follow him, and he's real strong.
Yep.
So, when you're in a position like us, you're always looking for, analogies and metaphors to carry over to your own business. That's one that I think anybody running a business could take away.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Question everything.
Yeah,
that's
right.
The biggest. No, really, that's no joke. But so I'm going to take it to the light part of it. I'm going to switch it. When he offered to buy Twitter, I think, it was someone else. Maybe he was selling some stock, but he offered it for $420. Just as a reference to smoking marijuana, and then he built his ship. Yeah, in a phallic.
The initial
symbol.
Price offering was $4.20, right?
So, and then he built his falcon to look like a penis, and then he called the fastest car that he built is the Model S Plaid Edition, and it. Where plaid comes from the movie Spaceballs when they go into hyperspeed. This guy is just hilarious. He just, he's the most impressive dude. He's one of the most successful businessmen on the planet. And then he just clowns and he makes himself laugh, and he's still lighthearted about it.
It's the equivalent of building a 16-foot nut in front of
exactly. So it's kind of along that same lines. He's still having fun with it. He's still kind of a goofball. And
your car can make fart noises because you just
exactly. You can go down the road. That's great, man. Just who would do that? Can you imagine Henry Ford being like, you know what? We need to put a fart noise in the seat. That would never happen. It's just a crazy cat, man.
I think the question everything is definitely the thing that got me that I brought back. I know that after I finished the book is whenever I personally decided, hey, I'm going to start staying I'm going to start sleeping at the warehouse one night a week, and I'm just going to basically start fixing. I can fix stuff. I'll stay there and fix equipment. So it's very interesting to see. I've got my secretary, my assistant, basically comes in and says, one of these days I'm going to beat you to work. And I say, I drive 3 hours to get here. I can't believe you can't beat me to work. What's your problem? And so the other day, I walked into the office, and she was there. It was like 5:45 in the morning, and she was there. And she said, I beat you. I said, yeah, but I brought you breakfast. And so kind of one up. But the whole being there, the sleeping on the roof of the Tesla factory to make sure that they reach their target, the finding a new way of building a tent that, hey, we can't build a building because they're not going to let us. We can do this thing. We can put an outside tent there. Thinking outside that box. I think that's what makes him great. I think that's what I got out of the book. I think that's what's making him. I think that he's going to be undervalued in our culture. Like, everyone's going to recognize Thomas Edison. Everyone's going to recognize, all these inventors. I think that he will be undervalued because of the way our culture is of trying to get of where we are. But I think he's such a value of what he makes for mankind. It's not about money. That's just a byproduct of what he's doing. Yeah. But he's unbelievable.
You think about all the things that he's done. I mean, he's revolutionized online banking with PayPal. He's revolutionized cars. He's revolutionized, rocket ships, space exploration. He's revolutionized just like the solar panel with the solar company. The Boring Company is, that's another side of it that he doesn't even really promote. And then the Neuralink thing, I mean, that could be an absolute complete game changer if, that grows to what he thinks it will.
Well, I would go along and say, and I know Mike's really been involved with Twitter for a long time, personally, but because of social media and police officers not really being on it, I think that Twitter's there. But I would even go as far as say I think he saved free speech in the United States.
You're right.
Absolutely.
You're right.
And I think that that's something that might just get overlooked, but there was a quote he put out today that he's against the banning of TikTok, not because it wouldn't help Twitter if it was banned, but for the sheer fact of free speech, that you can't just ban something.
He recognizes the slippery slope, that if you ban this, what's next?
Right, and he sees that at a much different level.
Right.
So, he's a genius.
You're absolutely right, man. I didn't even think about Twitter,
If anybody else, if you haven't read the book, highly suggest it. Walter Isaacson.
There are not too many people just in the history of the world that have made a bigger impact and changed the course of humankind. You can think of very few people. I mean, of course, you think of people like, let's say, Henry Ford. I mean, there's some things there. Obviously, Thomas Edison. Even the founding fathers, that sort of thing. And but when it comes to people like that, those are pretty rare cats throughout history. And sure, they're controversial, and that you can get into politics with everybody. But man, he's done some pretty amazing things.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it is a great book, no matter where you stand on the guy. Not to be too much of a fanboy, but like Doug said, Walter Isaacson is the guy that wrote this book. And I read another one, Benjamin Franklin, who's one of my favorite characters in history. Walter Isaacson did a great one on him, but he's done several. Like he did Kissinger.
They did Steve Jobs, didn't he?
He did Steve Jobs. I listened to that one shortly after the Elon Musk one. But I will say, out of the ones I've seen from Isaacson, this one on Elon Musk is undoubtedly one of the best. It's a really good book.
Lady Fung kept telling me enough about Elon Musk. Every time I come home,
he would come home every day and have to download 3 hours of listening in a conversation.
Everything was about Elon Musk. Now it's about my new favorite, Napoleon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know you guys are related to Napoleon?
I don't think his side is.
Oh, not your side.
Yeah,
sorry.
not his side.
Yeah, Doug's
the Dubois, the French side. That's that's all Doug.
Yeah, Napoleon started in Italy, so he might be kin to Mike. So Mike and I might be related. So he was born in Italy, in Corsica, the island Corsica.
That's not where my people come from.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So, not sure how long y'all want y'all's podcast to go, but in our podcast, Allie the Asset does something for us. Because our podcast, our listeners might not be up to intelligent enough. How would you basically?
I don't even want to touch that. I think what you're talking about is a technology based type of podcast versus a non-technology based, where we are just up for hijinks. We're two guys talking about nothing.
Yep.
They're two guys talking about something.
Good point.
Thank you.
I don't know. We're not talking about much. You're giving us a lot of credit there.
Yeah.
Parts of the week.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Hey, do you guys want to join us for parts of the week?
We did bring some parts, and we can cut you guys off and do this on ourselves, or we can show our nuts with you guys on live. We can show our nuts with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You want to join us for parts of the week?
Jeez, you
I do have a
had
word
me
of the
in
week.
hello.
Yeah, I do have a word of the week for you guys because that's what we do. So
Okay.
I'll let you. Yeah, parts of the week. Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, what we got?
So I always ask Chris. We started off because I always bring some big parts, always bring some small parts. So I'll ask you guys: do you want to start off with the big, or do you want to start off with the small?
I'm from Texas. Two things I know about: everything's bigger in Texas, and I only know Texas history. I don't know anything that took place outside of the big long.
Tell him about one of our our bonding moments.
Oh, whenever I asked Mike who Stan Houston was, or Travis, then Mike knew everything about, hey, today's San Jacinto Day, isn't that right?
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Oh
that.
my gosh. Yes.
The Battle of San Jacinto.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
should head
Texas
down there.
History Day. Good thing.
Well, happy here. Let's
Yeah,
do
anyway,
a cheers to
let's go
Happy
big.
San
Hey,
Jack
hey.
Day.
Texas
San
freedom.
Jacinto.
Let's go.
Yeah. How about that?
All right, so we're going to go big. We're going to start them off big. Go big or go home. So, oh, shit, that thing is heavy, boy.
Let me hold that for you,
bushing
Bryce.
right there.
That's a bushing if I've ever seen a bushing.
Yeah.
So that, my friends, is the beginning of a nut.
No.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah,
Let me
that's
hold
the beginning of a nut.
Well, that's
So-
impressive.
Material is 4340, so an alloy steel. We have taken round bar. We've turned the outside. We've drilled the inside. There's a chamfer here. So that's how we begin manufacturing a nut. Take round bar, turn it down, drill it to a specific ID.
So this will eventually turn into a hex nut. So you have 6 flat sides, and then you have a threaded portion in the center.
So
Not a
that
deck
turns
of
into
head
this.
Wow.
How about that?
That's a big
So that is. So then it goes on the mill, and they mill the flats on this to form the hex, and then you can see the threads in there as well. So it's probably hard to see, but you can see the size here. What diameter do you think that inside is?
I'm going to say 3.5 inches.
That's a really good guess. I'm blown away that you're that close. It's 3 3/4.
3.5. I'm going. Oh, I was going to go 5. But
3 3/4, 8 thread pitch is what this bad boy is. So 4340, and then
So
after
what-
this, after we machine the parts, it actually gets sent out to heat treat to specific. It's getting heat treated to B23 Class 3, which is a bolting spec, a fairly common bolting spec we make parts to all the time.
oh, yeah, I've heard that.
So here's a question that I always come up with. Basically, I learned a lot from last week on y'all's heat treatment stuff that you're talking about. But something that always comes to my mind whenever I see y'all talk about milling all this stuff down, what about all the excess stuff about recycling all the other stuff and getting that reused? What do you do with all that?
You know, it goes into a big scrap bin, and we have a scrap dealer comes and picks it up and then sells it back to the mill, and then they reproduce it.
They weigh it, segregate it, and then they assign a cost to it, and then we get a check for it. You know, it's obviously pennies on what we pay for the material, but you know, it's really, you make it this way, which is machining it from solid round bar, which you have a lot of waste, or the other way to do this is forging it, right? But this is smaller quantities. You know, forge shops are not going to set up to do 50 pieces of this, and if they are going to do it, it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to get something back. So it's just very difficult to do it that way. Generally, the time frames associated with the customer's needs are days and weeks at the most. And this is really the only way to get it done quickly is to just mow through a bunch of solid material to whittle it out of that solid round bar.
Oh.
So that's a lot of what we do. But that's what we chase is short lead time, quick turnaround, emergency orders. And there's a lot. I mean, we're doing, I think there's 300 and some nuts that we're making out there right now. And we're doing the studs too. So the studs are, coming out of 3 3/4 inch bar and they're threading it in the shop. And then, like I said, everything gets sent out to get heat treated. So it's a massive, massive order with a lot of work.
That's a lot of skill. I don't think I can do that.
You know, on these nuts right now, I mean, I'm not kidding. We have 4 machines tied up on these nuts just because it's a hot order and we got to turn them around quick. So we have 2 big lathes that are dedicated to it, and we have 2 big mills that are dedicated to it too.
You know, the cutting tools used to cut the material are carbide, so it's really hard cutting tools.
Right.
And you think about not just the waste that goes or the shavings that go into the bin, but also, you know, let's say every 3 or 4 flats of milling there, you know, you might set aside 6 inserts and then replace them and do 6 more. So, you know, there's a lot that goes into this, a lot of cost, a lot of overhead for making these things.
So this is the next part. You know, we talk about these quite a bit. This is just a socket head cap screw. Looks, I think, pretty standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
1/2 inch by 6.5 inches long. 4340 again. I kind of stick with the theme every week, but this is 4340 to a mill spec, which we're actually sending testing test piece out with a material, and our customer is going to run a bunch of tests on it and heat treat it to a certain spec. So we're just doing the beginning phase of these parts that ultimately they're going into some sort of, you know, defense, DoD, military application, holding something together, obviously. So very tight tolerances on these things. I mean, yeah, you might be right.
That'd be awesome.
Nature bolts, baby.
That'd be awesome.
Hey, I'm not joking though, but we've made parts that have gone to the moon. We've made parts that have gone on submarines. I mean, our parts are no shit. They're everywhere.
Most impressive, Israel. I thought that was impressive.
Israel. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we actually send a lot. Guyana is another one that we've recently sent a bunch of parts to. But Israel, there's some platforms off the coast of Israel that we've supplied tons. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say tons of specialty bolts
And gaskets.
Yeah, to that platform.
That's impressive.
So
That is impressive. That's some crazy stuff.
here's another. You know, it's just funny because again, I talk about this part just because this is nowhere. This is on 0 shelves. Nobody stocks this. It has to be made. So, you know, if you have a need for that, you're coming to a place like us, and we're going to make it quick, and we're going to make it beautiful. Here's another one. I mean, an unassuming hex cap screw. You see this thing, you're like, oh, I see that shit at Home Depot all the time. But this is Inconel 718 to a high yield, high tensile spec. So a high strength 718.
That's what you would see in one of Elon Musk's gas turbines.
But even more so, this is even a higher strength. So there's a couple different specs in 718, and B637 is the most common in the bolting world. So it's a 150 min yield, 180 min tensile. This has a 220 min tensile. So this is like one of the strongest materials that you can put into operation. I mean, it is.
So he's saying 220,000 pounds per square inch
to break this thing. I mean, it's insanely strong. So it's very expensive. There's a lot of nickel in it. There's, you know, a very special heat treatment to it to make it nice and strong. I don't know if you can see the markings on it, but 718 AMS 5962, made from round bar, heat treated, and I mean, again, you see this part, and it's funny. I joke with a lot of my friends about it, and I'm like, yeah, we made this part, and they're like, oh, I'm like, how much do you think that thing costs? And they're like, yeah, it's 50 cents. That's an expensive part, man. I mean, that's a very, you know, it's well into the $100 a piece range. Into that.
Let me ask you guys a question. You both engineers? Education?
No. No. We stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, Mike. No, I've spent my whole career in applications and engineering and things. I never got a degree. Mine's background's in business, but I spent my life around it. So applications and working with some of the finest engineers out there.
Right.
You know, Chris is the brains. I'd go for the beauty, but I'm just the guy.
Now, if
I was
you
a
both were to
material.
tell me that you were like MIT engineers or something along those lines, like I would believe it.
You'd make sense. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what we get paid to do, is make people believe we're smarter than we are. Right?
Excellent. Well, you're pulling it off here, buddy.
We pretend really well.
Genealogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great tree.
Yeah, you guys have a great tree of intelligent people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We have
Yes,
our
sir.
grandfather. My grandfather, he was.
Sharp.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do it.
Okay.
I mean,
He was a lovely man.
he was a lovely man. Dick Wingate, love him. I mean, God bless his soul. He made a big impression on my life.
Okay, good. They should.
Yep.
So, you know, we always end the podcast, I think, with just some stuff going on in our world. And, you know, maybe you guys can chime in with the little happenings in your world. I think this week has been a very busy week at our shop. Our business has been a little stagnant, I think, in the last, few weeks, but it's been jammed up this week. It's been pretty impressive.
Probably, I'd say, pretty close to a record intake this week for us.
And then you have the Houston Astros that have been completely shitting the bed. They're probably one of the worst teams in baseball. You have the Chicago Cubs.
I mean, they make the Cubs look good.
You have the Chicago Cubs that are actually, playing some baseball.
Perhaps you guys could engineer some sort of new trash can for them to beat on in the Houston dugout so as to steal signs and alert the batter to it. Just saying.
You know,
so Mike's a huge Yankee fan, just like you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so he's still
How
bitter.
about that?
Born and bred.
Still bitter.
Still bitter. Yeah. So.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about the Yankees other than they're the Yankees.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that's beginning and end of it. Yeah.
I'm a Cubs fan, so I hate the Yankees just because you guys have, 26, 27 rings, and we have
27.
5. Yeah, 27.
Yeah. See,
They've also
I'm a
got
Cowboys
that guy
fan, so I get the same hate, Mike, this way.
But the Cowboys haven't won in forever. I mean, that's like saying you're a St. Louis Browns fan. I
But
mean,
they still have more rings than most of the teams out
yeah,
there.
but they're rings from the
But that
other
doesn't
century.
matter.
Another century is when you.
I know all the arguments. I know the talking points.
Hey, look, let me show you this, Bryce. This is my Emmitt Smith signed football
Emmitt Smith.
From 1996, whenever he scored a touchdown playing against the Washington Redskins.
That's
And
awesome.
Yeah, there we go. We have an Emmitt Smith signed football.
Right here in the studio.
That's badass right there in the studio. And that's when the Cowboys were actually relevant. It was a whole different century.
It's the most valuable sports franchise in the entire world. They're still relevant.
I don't think they're the most valuable.
They are, without a doubt, undisputed.
They
Not
are.
even close.
Who's number
No,
two?
that's
Is
like-
it
Yankees is probably the second, right?
I was
That's
just
like saying
Manchester
Walmart.
United, I think.
Yeah,
you may
the
be right.
Lakers are up there, but it's Manchester United. I mean, it's the Cowboys,
Yeah.
the Yankees,
Yeah.
Manchester United, and the Lakers. Whatever that means.
I think, but that's like just saying Walmart is the most, successful company ever. Who gives a shit? It's a piece of shit company. The Cowboys are Jerry Jones.
I grew up in Walmart, Bryce. I take great offense to that.
I've slept in Walmart parking lots before.
Who has it?
Who hasn't? Yeah. Got him.
So yeah, anything else going on? Mike has been getting texts here.
My phone's blowing up.
He's probably just a few days away from being a grandfather for the first time.
Oh, congrats, man.
He can't wait. Hey, happy grandpa.
Yeah, here's to babies. Grand
He
puppy.
can't wait. I already have 2. They're great.
Got a friggin' buzz on.
You have 2 grandkids?
I have 2 grandkids. Yep.
Damn, well done.
Yeah, and 1 daughter. She's amazing. She's currently in Utah. Tomorrow, 4/20 is her birthday. So she's going to be in Colorado. So
hanging out with Elon Musk.
Colorado for her birthday.
On 4/20.
Yeah,
For her birthday.
Yeah. So those kids are somewhere around here. I have to wrap things up on our end. I have a word of the week for you that I learned last week. Maybe y'all might be able to help me. Normally, what happens because I have a Texas education is that we have Allie the Asset who gives a word that I try to spell. I can never spell. Mike has to use it in a sentence. And so this week's word that really been popping with me since I heard it, decahedron. Okay?
That was Chris's word from last week.
Decahedron. I'd like to know if you can tell me what that word is. Okay? So use it in a sentence. Because I've always called what it is something different. And I thought, wow, I better write that down.
It's got to have something to do with 100.
Maybe.
As in decade. Hedron. As in
Max Hedron.
AI. Max Hedron. So it's the future of AI at 100 gigahertz per session.
All right.
Oh shit!
Chris,
This is a fun game.
I'm impressed. I was impressed whenever you said that.
Are you able to Google it all?
Hey, listen, there's a new thing for the younger people out there.
Kids.
The kids tell us this. It's called give it a goog. And that means
Give it a goog. Chris is a fucking cheater, man.
I just wanted to verify this, but last week I used this word to describe a 12-point headed bolt, and I thought that was the decahedron, or I think that's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's 10-sided.
But that is 10-sided.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned, I looked this up, so I already knew this because I knew I was going to look like a fool from what I said last week. But the 12 side should have been dodecagon. Is the 12 side.
Dodecagon.
So decahedron is 10 sides.
Right.
Dodecagon is 12.
So we gave him this opportunity. Whenever you said that, I thought deca is definitely 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even I knew that, but I thought that was interesting. So I gave you this opportunity to basically clear that up.
So yeah, I did not. I didn't think about that a whole lot because when I went back and looked it up, I was like, "Oh my god, I should have known that. That's so obvious."
So it's,
now that you say it, it's like, sure.
Yeah.
dodeca is what it is.
Yeah.
Dodecagon.
This would be a fun game to do every week and like just fact check shit that we say.
We mess up all the time. And it's a good thing there's only like 3 people that watch us, and you're like 50% of our viewership.
50% of the
3. Look, just to say that you did it, though, that we've been able to go in and say, yeah, we have a podcast.
You'd be funny. People have recognized us, too.
We've gone into places, there's been places we go to the grocery store, and we literally have to keep people away from us. Like, hold on. We just are here to get fruit.
No pictures.
We get that all the time as well.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's like you're one of the bald guys, right? From the Bolts and Hose show.
It is tough. I mean, people are making us sign their Bolts and Hose stickers all the time.
We get that all the time with koozies and pictures and stuff.
I had to sign a breast the other day.
Oh, really? It was a man breast?
It was Chick-fil-A.
It was a dove breast. A chicken breast. Okay.
She only let you sign one?
If we had more time, I would tell you about the birthday 2 years ago, where he got so hit on. He would have been black and blue if it was like physical. He got so hit on.
That's a whole other story.
That's another episode.
Yeah, we'll have to basically give that up.
All right,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe we can. We should do another podcast together, and we can talk about all the fanfare that we've dealt with.
Yeah.
And how we've had to deal with it.
I'm telling that story.
I love it.
I'm afraid on this one we're going to get so much hate about fanboying on Elon.
Really? Yeah, you think so?
You think?
I know that basically that people kept saying, Doug, when are you finishing the book? I mean, just stop with it, Elon.
Yeah, stop talking about it.
I think if people bash on it, it's because they're a little bit short-sighted.
Agreed.
Okay,
He's
because
a fascinating character.
Right, that's it. It's not necessarily about the individual. It's about what he is, where his brain's at, and what he's doing. If you're not amazed by that, you're not really...
Then you're not paying attention to what he's really doing.
Yeah, you shouldn't be involved in that conversation bashing.
Yeah.
Right.
Here, Mike. Here, brother. Drink to that.
Thank you. God bless you, Reverend.
There we go.
God bless you, sir.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up. We're coming up on 58 minutes here. So
perfect.
Wow.
Yes, this is perfect. We had 1 hour episode. This is awesome. I think the listeners will get a lot out of this. And again, I think all 4 of us, unanimous decision, we would recommend going out and reading this book. Great review, guys.
Give it a listen.
Hey, Mom.
Yes,
love
sir.
you.
Yeah, love you too, Mom.
Love you, Aunt Jean.
Yeah, our 4 listeners, all of our mothers. Hey, check out Fung Shway. They were making fun of me because I guess I must have mispronounced it at some point in time.
Sure, you're drinking whiskey the whole time. See why you wouldn't.
So like, comment, share Bolts and Hose, episode 52. Fung Shway, great dudes. I'm sure we'll do this again. We had a great time with you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining.
All right.
You too, fellas.
See ya.
All right, on 3, bolts and hose. 1, 2, 3.
Bolts and
hose.
See ya.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Fung Shway podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week.